Right, so on with the subframe removal and refurbishment. Right, so on with the subframe removal and refurb and refit. Now, it can seem quite daunting, however, I have got the workshop manual and there is a step-by-step process that I'm going to follow, so it should be relatively simple. So let's get into it. Step number 1. Position the vehicle on a 2-post ramp. Axle stands it is. Second step, disconnect battery earth lead and disconnect battery positive lead. Ooh, one more thing before we get started, how could I forget? Later in the video we will be having the draw for the giveaway that was announced in the last video, so do stick around for that. There's a few people in that, and I'll be having a guest along to do the draw. So I've already got the battery removed from this car, but if your battery's in here, you'd need to disconnect the positive and negative terminals from the battery. Then it's a case of disconnecting various clips and wires and bolts from around the fuse box. So I'm going to begin by removing the cover to the fuse box. There is this positive wire runs underneath the car through the subframe towards the back of the car, towards the starter motor, and this does split off. This other wire, positive wire, goes in and under through the back of the fuse box. I need to undo that and feed it out so this can be dropped down through the car. Okay, so now it's a case of undoing the steering column from the steering rack, which is done from inside in the footwell. Just behind the foot pedals is the steering column, and this is attached to the steering rack with one, well, it's a universal joint, and there's one bolt holding it in place, which is a 10mm bolt. Around that there's a shroud, and there's 3 other bolts, also 10mm, that needs to be undone. So 4 bolts in total. Now there is, it's going to be easier if you undo or take away the surrounding sort of material, the carpet. But luckily, because it's a British car, if you sneeze at it hard enough, it'll just fall away. So to take these bolts out, and pretty much for the whole of this project, I'm going to be using impact wrenches and various different bits and bobs. So what I will do, because I've had some comments in the past asking me what I've been using, I will include links in the description to things that I've purchased for this project. So now I need to remove some components around the subframe, and as far as the manual is concerned that I'm following, it doesn't seem all too complicated. However, so I'm supposed to take off the caliper, brake caliper, and the ABS sensor, and then hang them up out the way so that when the subframe's removed, they're still here attached to the car. The problem I've got with that is it suggests that I need to remove a bracket here which holds the brake line, and to do that I need to remove a bolt. However, there is no bolt there. Instead, the bracket is welded on. So after much thought, I'm going to have a go at leaving the brake caliper on, leaving the ABS sensor on, and then disconnecting the ABS sensor, which is done from up above, and then disconnecting the brake line, brake pipe from here. It is rusty and nasty, but I'll give it a go. It'll just mean I haven't got to take any of this off, which I'll do at a later stage, and then I can remove it with the subframe. So the ABS sensor can be undone from just here. This lead that comes up here, this pipe lead, comes up to this point, so it's just a case of unattaching it. And I guess you just twist them. Okay, you just pull them. Just looking at it, they can only go in one way. There's a bit of a groove on this that marries up with a groove just inside, so that's good. So I need to make sure this is unclipped going all the way down. So I have with me an empty bottle and some pliers. I was tempted to put a spanner on here, but it's so rusty it's just going to round it off, so I'm just going to go straight in with the old Barco pliers and try and undo it. It's going to be messy, there's no two ways about it. So having disconnected the other brake caliper, the fluid hose pipe, just need to disconnect the other ABS sensor, which is underneath the fuse box on this side. So there's two 10mm bolts to take this off, move it out of the way, and then it's the same as the other side, just unclipping the ABS sensor. So next on the list of things to do is remove these two flexible coolant hoses from the metal ones. Right, now I've already had one of these off because I've drained the coolant down in a previous video, so do check that out if you're on with that. Now this was very difficult to get off because it's pretty much seized to the pipe, the metal pipe, so one should be easier than the other, but there is a technique for getting them off, which is basically twist, grip, twist, grip, twist, grip. We'll start with the one that I've already had off before, which should be easy. Now there may still be some coolant in here because I've had the car up and down. That's one. This is the one I haven't had off yet. Oh. Note, there's a bit left. Unless you don't want a face full, like I just have, get a bucket. So once you've disconnected the flexible coolant hoses, you just move those out of the way. Next to the centre pipes that run underneath the car, there's another cable that runs alongside it, and that's the positive cable from the battery. And just here there's a cable tie, so you need to release that. I'm going to try and do it without damaging it, so it can be reused just by jamming a flathead screwdriver in there. Well, it's not exactly playing ball. And so the screen wash bottle, which is here, feeds the washer jets on the bonnet, and it is clipped onto the subframe. There's two clips just here, and they need unclipping before you can drop the subframe. Everything on the car is now undone, except for two mounts at the front, two at the rear, and a bolt in the middle. Now all of those bolts consist of using two sockets, a 10mm and a 13mm. I'm going to be using an impact wrench to take them off, just because a lot of them are rusted. And my plan is to use 3 pieces of wood on a jacked up in like an eye piece, kind of eye, shape of an eye, to support the subframe, and then lower it down on the jack steadily so that I can remove it. Now there's a lot that can go wrong with this. It's going to be unbalanced. I might not have enough clearance to actually slide it out, so I'm going to be winging this one like everything else I do, I suppose. But yeah, slow and steady is the order of the day. So I'm going to undo the centre bolt first, because the jack will be in the way otherwise. This is a 13mm bolt. That was easy enough. So the jack's underneath the car. I've got 2 pieces of wood running across it from side to side, one underneath supporting those 2 pieces of wood. That should hopefully be enough to support the whole subframe. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to undo all but one of the bolts in all the mounts, and then gradually release the remaining bolts and then lower it down. I have in fact got an assistant with me to help, so that should help. You catch this subframe if it drops on me.
Have you got a
bugger? Oh, that's a... Yeah, I mean, you can actually see where the bolt on the end started to just expand. So I'm going to give these a bit of a rub, just to help the socket get on. See what happens. Bugger.
It's not
No chance.
It's just rounding that off, isn't it?
Right, so I've tried to use the impact to get the 2 bolts off the front mount, which are just spinning round and round and not coming out. Managed to snap one on the other side. So what I'm going to attempt to do is take out the main big bolt, which is an 18mm. And I've got Justin holding the back with an adjustable just to stop that spinning. Fingers crossed. I think I'll just turn it up to maximum and hope for the best, really. How's it going?
Yeah, going on.
Just make sure, just in case it drops, you're not under it.
Yeah.
Right, so now we've hammered a socket onto the back because it was even rounding the back nut off. We've got Justin holding the wrench on, and then we'll give it another go. Ready?
Yeah.
Contact.
It's just spinning that.
To be fair, okay, I think the ratchet's broke. I'll say this though, good impact. So now we've got an extension on something there rested up against the subframe. So hopefully that should stop the socket spinning on the back. What the hell? What the hell? On each side, yeah. Right, so because we managed to get the bolt off, the big bolt on the other side off, and we need to do a bit of prep work really. We cleaned the thread up and used some WD-40, so we're just going to wind this one back in, try and clean the thread up and get it off that way. Which, good. Ready?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Just slowly, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
That's right, I'm leaving.
There's a bit of luck, it'll just snap off.
There you go. I think that went back in.
Yeah, it felt like it. Ready?
Yeah. It's going.
Wow. So it just goes to show you preparation is the key. Definitely get a wire brush on any kind of thread when you're undoing something, and some WD-40 because it makes a hell of a difference. So we've not taken off the 2 smaller bolts. I'll have to deal with those later on. We've undone the bigger bolts. So they're both off on the front now. So there's just them to take out, and then 2 bolts on the rear mount to take out, and then it's purely on the jack. Right, so with the front 2 big bolts loosened, they're still in. So as this back drops, if it does drop, they should hopefully hold on to it. Going to remove the back 2 bolts that are in, and then we should be able to remove these and lower it down on the jack. I'll add that to the list of sheared bolts. But it shouldn't go anywhere because the bolt on the other side is in. So that's everything undone, I think. So it should just be resting on the jack. Now, as I lower this, I'm going to be looking for a couple of things. I want to make sure it's not snagging anywhere. any cables, and I'm particularly going to be looking at the steering rack where it's still kind of in situ. That needs to drop and pop out of place, but I'm just going to lower this gradually. Am I caught anywhere, do you think?
No, you're right.
So it's starting to twist your way. Right. That's it. I'll just drop it a bit. Right, so it's come out, yeah, steering rack pinions come out, so that's fine. You alright?
Yeah.
If it wants to rest on the floor, just let it.
Right, I think you stuck. Right, you stuck a bottle. There's that bottle there. There's a clip underneath. So if I'm not careful, we'll rip that clip off. Can you see it?
Yeah. So as we've lowered the car, the chassis on the back has got caught on the washer bottle. So do make sure you lift the washer bottle up and out before you lower it.
Jesus, that's heavy.
Is it heavy?
Yeah, it's very heavy.
Do you want me to get that trolley, this side?
Yeah, you like it. Shall we then?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
That one I will squat it, isn't it? Oh crap.
Oh, it's not that heavy. I was holding that. So it's on pieces of wood there.
Should fly. Lift it in.
To be honest, you could lift this out. So, shall we slide it as far forward as it'll go?
Yeah.
In fact, can you pick it up and move it? I'm grabbing the caliper
Yeah.
and I'm grabbing the I'm grabbing the steering rack where it connects to the arm
Yeah.
for the Watson jig it.
What are you doing?
If you just do the same your side now.
Oh, that's so close.
If I push this your way,
No, you can't. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, now you can.
can you move it around now?
Right. Can you give me any more?
Yeah, hang on.
I'm free, so.
So you come my way now. Oh, it's free! I'm really glad that job is done. The subframe definitely needed bringing out. It is rusty, and luckily a friend of mine, Justin, he came along and we managed to get it out between us and lift it up onto the workbench just behind me. It is weighty, but with two of you it is possible to manhandle it a bit. Now today wasn't without its problems. I managed to shear off at least 3 bolts using the Milwaukee impact gun. So I've got those to sort out when I actually come to put the subframe back on. But in a future video, in fact the next video, it's going to be a case of stripping down the subframe, seeing what can be refurbished and having a look at what's going to be replaced, which is probably going to be a lot of things because it is in a bad way. Justin did mention actually there's yellow markings all over the subframe, and that can be an indication that it's from a scrap yard, so it looks like it was a second-hand subframe anyway. But anyway, on with the drawer, and see so long ago. So we have had some names in, so that's great. Thanks for those that have contacted me and put your name in. We've even had names as far as Canada, and it's been really interesting looking at other people's cars and their stories, so thanks for that. But to do the drawer itself, I've got my wonderful daughter Jessica. Come on Jessica, have a seat. And so this is for. This is for the thermostat and for the thermostat seal. Now you can check on, I did say it was a different website last time, but if you check on Rimmer Brothers, I'll put the web address in the description below. If you check on their website, you can punch these numbers in, these codes, and you can see whether or not it's suitable for your application. So, Jessica, if you want to take a name at random out of there for us.
Okay, I will get a name. There's two stuck together there. Oh, no.
What you got?
I have got Andrew Moore.
Well done, congratulations, Andrew Moore. I'll be in touch and we'll get these off to you. Thank you very much. So in the next video, it's all about the subframe, stripping it down and refurbishing that, and then it'll be back in the car. So thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, as it does support the channel and help us out. So
Give a like.
see you in the next one.